Lily's sunflower surprise. Lily skipped ahead of her mom, Sarah, a packet of sunflower seeds clutched in her hand. "This spot is perfect, Mom. Sunny all day long." The newly turned earth of their small backyard patch smelled rich and loamy. Sarah chuckled, shaking her head at Lily's enthusiasm. "All right, sunshine enthusiast. Let's get these seeds in the ground." Together, they carefully poked holes in the soil, dropping in the tiny seeds and covering them with a gentle pat. Lily imagined the sunflowers already, tall and proud, their faces turned towards the sun. "I'm going to water them every day," she declared, grabbing the watering can. Days blurred into a happy routine. School, homework, then watering her precious patch. Lily felt a thrill each time she saw a new sprout emerge, tiny green leaves unfurling towards the sky. She even started a small notebook, documenting their progress, jotting down observations about leaf size and stem thickness. Weeks later, the sunflowers were taller than Lily herself. Their buds, heavy with promise, began to swell. Finally, one morning, Lily ran outside to find the first sunflower in full bloom. Its golden petals radiated warmth, and the dark center buzzed with bees. "Mom, come quick," she yelled, excitement bubbling in her voice. Sarah emerged, a smile gracing her lips as she took in the sight. "They're magnificent, Lily. You have a real green thumb." Lily beamed. She couldn't wait to show her friends. The next afternoon, Maya and Chloe came over. Lily led them to the backyard, her heart pounding with pride. "Wow, Lily, these are amazing," Maya exclaimed, circling the sunflowers. Chloe, usually reserved, reached out to gently touch a velvety petal. "Did you grow these all by yourself?" "With Mom's help," Lily corrected, "but I watered them and kept the bugs away." She launched into a detailed explanation of the sunflower life cycle, her initial shyness melting away as she shared her knowledge. Suddenly, a shadow fell over them. Mrs. Davison, the HOA president, stood at the edge of the yard, her face a mask of disapproval. "What is all this?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "We have rules about maintaining property aesthetics, young lady. These weeds are not in compliance." Lily's face flushed. "They're not weeds, Mrs. Davison. They're sunflowers." "I don't care what they are. They're overgrown and unsightly," Mrs. Davison retorted, her gaze sweeping over the vibrant garden with disdain. "They need to be removed immediately." The HOA president arrives. From her kitchen window, Patricia Crabtree spied the sunflowers. They were brazen, towering things, their yellow faces practically shouting across the manicured lawns of Willow Creek Estates. Weeds, she thought, though she knew perfectly well what they were. Just overgrown weeds. She pursed her lips, the reflection of the stainless steel refrigerator glinting off her severe, rectangular glasses. This simply wouldn't do. Willow Creek prided itself on its uniformity, its carefully curated image of suburban perfection. Those sunflowers, in all their gaudy glory, disrupted the delicate balance. Patricia adjusted her floral print blouse, smoothing out imaginary wrinkles. "Time for a little chat." She grabbed her clipboard, already mentally composing the violation notice. Her own lawn was a testament to meticulous care. Each blade of Kentucky bluegrass stood at attention, a uniform 3 inches tall, thanks to Mr. Henderson's lawn care and a rigorous fertilizing schedule. Not a dandelion dared to peek its head above ground. She made a show of plucking an invisible leaf from a rose bush before marching across the street. The Ramirez girl, Lily, was it? Was watering a row of, or those peppers? Honestly, the lack of aesthetic cohesion was appalling. "Good morning," Patricia said, her voice a little too loud, a little too cheerful. Lily jumped, nearly dropping the hose. "Oh, Mrs. Crabtree. Good morning." A nervous smile flickered across her face. "Those sunflowers," Patricia began, tapping the clipboard against her thigh. "They're rather tall, aren't they? And a bit disheveled." She wrinkled her nose, as if physically repulsed by the sight. "I don't believe anything of that height is permitted. It obstructs the view of the other houses." Lily's smile faltered. "But they're sunflowers. They're supposed to be tall. And they attract bees." She blushed, suddenly self-conscious. "I thought everyone liked bees." Patricia Crabtree's smile tightened. "Bees? More like stinging menaces. Well, the bylaws are quite clear. And frankly, their appearance is untidy. We strive for a certain standard here in Willow Creek." She adjusted her glasses, her gaze sweeping over the vibrant, slightly chaotic garden. "Perhaps you haven't had a chance to familiarize yourself with the community guidelines yet." Accusations in the afternoon. The clatter of trowels against terracotta faded as a long shadow fell across Lily's prized sunflowers. Mrs. Crabtree, a vision in floral polyester and pursed lips, marched onto Lily's property as if claiming enemy territory. Behind her, the sprinkler on Mrs. Higgins' meticulously manicured lawn whirred, a watery metronome marking the rhythm of impending doom. Well, Mrs. Crabtree began, her voice a rusty hinge protesting its age. So this is where our HOA dues are going. Some jungle. She gestured with a manicured hand, each diamond glinting like a tiny, judgmental eye. Maya and Chloe, mid-sip of iced tea, exchanged uncomfortable glances. Lily's carefully constructed facade of gardener chic crumbled. Her cheeks flushed, mirroring the crimson poppies she'd so diligently cultivated. Mrs. Crabtree, good afternoon. Can I help you? Help me? You can start by adhering to the covenants, young lady. Those sunflowers are a blatant violation, exceeding the height restriction. And the wildness. It's attracting vermin, I'm sure. Vermin, Lily squeaked, her voice barely audible above the buzzing of a bee investigating a nearby zinnia. I haven't seen any vermin. That you know of, Mrs. Crabtree corrected, her voice dripping with condescension. But that's not even the half of it. I've been doing some checking, and I understand you're a renter. We have specific rules for renters, you know. Landscaping restrictions, pet limitations, the whole shebang. She punctuated her pronouncements with jabs of her finger, each one aimed squarely at Lily's chest. Lily's stomach lurched. The afternoon sun, which had moments ago felt warm and welcoming, now seemed to amplify Mrs. Crabtree's accusatory glare. Maya cleared her throat nervously. Lily owns the house, Mrs. Crabtree. She's lived here for years. Mrs. Crabtree scoffed, her gaze sweeping over Lily's paint-splattered overalls and dirt-stained hands. Oh, I'm sure that's what she tells everyone. But I have my sources. She tapped her nose knowingly. And those sources tell me a different story. So, which is it, Miss Ramirez? Owner or tenant? Because either way, that garden needs to be tamed, and your story better be straight. Sarah steps in. The air crackled with unspoken accusations. Lily stood frozen, clutching a trowel like a shield. Mrs. Crabtree, face blotchy and voice tight, jabbed a finger towards the sunflowers, their golden heads drooping slightly in the afternoon heat. A familiar chime of wind chimes, a sound that always eased Lily's anxieties, cut through the tension. Sarah rounded the corner of the house, her tote bag slung over her shoulder, a question mark etched on her face. Lily? What's going on here? Mrs. Crabtree thinks. Lily's voice wavered. Thinks our garden is against the rules. Sarah's gaze shifted to Mrs. Crabtree, her expression instantly softening into a polite, yet firm, neutrality. Good afternoon, Mrs. Crabtree. Is there a problem? A problem? This eyesore is a problem. Mrs. Crabtree gestured dismissively at the vibrant garden. It's overgrown, unkempt, and frankly, lowers the property values of the entire street. Sarah took a step forward, positioning herself slightly in front of Lily. I understand your concern, but I assure you, we've checked the HOA guidelines. Our garden, including the sunflowers, is within the permitted dimensions and plant types. She pulled out her phone. I can pull up the relevant section if you'd like. Don't bother, Mrs. Crabtree snapped, her voice laced with disdain. I know the rules. And I also know who owns and who rents in this neighborhood. This kind of enthusiasm is rarely seen from renters. Sarah's eyes narrowed, a flash of steel beneath the calm surface. Mrs. Crabtree, she said, her voice even, we own this house. We have lived here for 5 years. And this garden is my daughter's passion project. Everything is by the book? Oh, really? Mrs. Crabtree scoffed, a triumphant glint in her eye. Then you won't mind if I call the HOA myself, just to be absolutely certain. Some details can be easily overlooked, especially when one is so eager to impress. She turned on her heel, her floral dress swishing dramatically. I'm sure they'll be fascinated to know exactly what's going on here. Proof or prejudice? I assure you, Mrs. Crabtree, I own this property, Sarah said, her voice calm despite the simmering frustration. I can show you the deed. She reached into her purse, pulling out her phone. The screen illuminated her face as she navigated to the county records website. Here, she said, extending the phone towards the older woman. My name, the property address. It's all right here. Mrs. Crabtree peered down her nose at the screen, her lips pursed. That's a phone. Anyone can fake something on a phone. I need to see the official document. A real deed. She folded her arms, a smug look settling on her face. Not some digital imitation. Sarah felt a surge of anger. Mrs. Crabtree, this is directly from the county records database. It's a legal document, just as valid as a paper copy. I can even pull up the property tax records, the mortgage information. Mortgage? So you admit you have a mortgage? Mrs. Crabtree pounced on the word, her eyes gleaming with a strange satisfaction. That just proves my point. You're still paying for it, aren't you? That makes you practically a renter. Having a mortgage doesn't make me a renter. Sarah's voice rose slightly, drawing a curious glance from a passing dog walker. Almost everyone has a mortgage. It's a loan, not a lease. She took a deep breath, trying to regain her composure. This woman was deliberately twisting everything. Look, I don't have the original paper deed on me, but I can get a certified copy from the county clerk's office. Would that satisfy you? Mrs. Crabtree tapped her foot impatiently. I want to see it now. I have better things to do than wait around for you to fabricate something. She glanced pointedly at Sarah's daughter, Maya, who was drawing in the sidewalk chalk. This is about maintaining the standards of our community. We can't have just anyone moving in it. Her voice trailed off, but the implication hung heavy in the air, lowering the property values. Lily's secret weapon. Lily watched the confrontation unfold, the knot in her stomach tightening with each clipped word. Mrs. Crabtree's voice, usually a shrill whistle, was now a low, menacing growl. Those sunflowers are a blatant violation, Sarah. I expect them gone by morning. Sarah stood tall, her voice calm but firm. They're beautiful, Patricia, and they're not hurting anyone. Hurt? They hurt my property values. They scream, renter. Mrs. Crabtree spat the word like a curse. Lily winced, clutching the watering can. She wanted to disappear, to become invisible amongst the offending flora. Everything about her felt wrong, exposed. That's enough, Patricia, Sarah warned, her eyes narrowing. You will not speak to my daughter like that. As Mrs. Crabtree launched into another tirade about bylaws and property aesthetics, a memory surfaced. Fragments of a conversation, overheard weeks ago while she was ostensibly doing homework at the kitchen table. Her mom, on the phone, her voice hushed. Crabtree mortgage, manageable but tight margins. Lily's breath hitched. Her mom handled mortgages at the bank. Mrs. Crabtree's mortgage. The knowledge felt heavy, a secret weapon she wasn't sure she should wield. It felt wrong, somehow, to use her mom's professional life, her private conversations, as ammunition. But the memory refused to recede, pulsing with the same nervous energy that thrummed through her own veins. Mrs. Crabtree was now practically vibrating with indignation, her face a blotchy red. I will report this. You'll see. You'll be sorry. Lily's fingers tightened around the cool metal of the watering can. Should she? Could she? The words felt like a lead weight on her tongue. The air crackled with unspoken tension, thick with the scent of petunias and impending doom. The mortgage revelation. Lily fiddled with the hem of her sundress, the sunflower appliques suddenly feeling childish and loud. Mrs. Crabtree's pursed lips hadn't loosened since she'd launched into her tirade about the eyesore garden. Lily wanted to disappear into the overgrown zucchini vines. It's just, they bring me joy, Lily mumbled, her cheeks burning. Mrs. Crabtree scoffed, a dry, brittle sound. Joy? Young lady, joy doesn't pay property taxes. She punctuated the air with a manicured finger, the crimson nail glinting in the afternoon sun. Joy doesn't maintain property values. Sarah, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. Mrs. Crabtree, I think you're being a bit harsh. The garden is well-maintained, and well-maintained. Mrs. Crabtree cut her off, her voice rising. I've seen weeds taller than that child. And those sunflowers. Garish. Lily's lower lip trembled. She couldn't help it. Tears pricked at her eyes, blurring the already hazy image of Mrs. Crabtree's disapproving face. Without thinking, the words tumbled out, a desperate attempt to deflect the criticism. My mom works at the bank, Lily blurted. The one that holds your mortgage. A stunned silence descended, thick and heavy like the humid air before a thunderstorm. Mrs. Crabtree's face, previously flushed with indignation, paled. Her mouth opened and closed, but no sound emerged. The manicured finger, still raised, trembled slightly. Sarah's eyes widened. She hadn't known Lily knew, or that Lily would say anything. A wave of heat flushed her own cheeks. This was complicated. Patricia, she said, trying to keep her voice even. Mrs. Crabtree finally found her voice, but it was a mere whisper, a husk of its former booming self. Your mother, she stammered, her gaze darting between Lily and Sarah. The power dynamic had visibly shifted. The air, previously charged with Mrs. Crabtree's righteous anger, now crackled with her barely concealed anxiety. The sunflowers, still swaying gently in the breeze, suddenly seemed less garish, more defiant. Apology and retreat. The air hung thick with unspoken judgments. Mrs. Crabtree, her face flushed a mottled red, stood rigid, the accusation still clinging to the air like the sin of overripe compost. A few neighbors had gathered, drawn by the commotion. Whispers, sharp and inquisitive, rippled through the small crowd. Lily, clutching a watering can, looked ready to bolt. Sarah stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Patricia," she said, using Mrs. Crabtree's first name with a deliberate emphasis, "you owe Lily an apology. A public one, since the accusation was so public." Mrs. Crabtree's jaw tightened. She shifted her weight, her sensible shoes scuffing against the pristine sidewalk. Her gaze flickered between Sarah's unwavering stare and the interested faces of the onlookers. The bloom had faded from her perfectly applied lipstick, leaving a harsh line around her mouth. I simply assumed," she began, her voice wavering. "You assumed incorrectly," Sarah interrupted, her voice steely. "And you humiliated my daughter in the process." Mrs. Crabtree's shoulders slumped. She mumbled something inaudible, her eyes darting towards the ground. "Speak up, Patricia," Sarah pressed, her tone unwavering. I apologize," Mrs. Crabtree finally blurted out, the words rushed and indistinct. "I was mistaken. The sunflowers are quite lovely." The compliment seemed to physically pain her. She turned abruptly, her back stiff with resentment, and hurried towards her own perfectly manicured lawn, leaving a trail of awkward silence in her wake. The gathered neighbors watched her retreat, the whispers resuming, now tinged with a hint of pity and a definite dose of schadenfreude. Lily, relieved, finally managed a weak smile. Sunflowers in the sun. The soil felt softer beneath Lily's fingers, the damp earth cool against her skin. She knelt between the towering stalks, their heavy heads tilted towards the afternoon sun like adoring fans. They seemed brighter somehow, the yellow of their petals more vibrant, the green of their leaves a deeper, richer shade. She carefully pinched off a withered leaf, a small act of care that resonated deep within her. A chorus of cheers erupted from the sidewalk. Lily looked up, shielding her eyes. Maria and Ben were waving, their faces split with wide grins. Even Mateo, usually reserved, gave a thumbs up. "Way to go, Lily," Maria shouted, her voice full of genuine excitement. "You showed them." Lily felt a blush creep up her neck, but this time, it wasn't from embarrassment. It was warmth, a feeling of belonging and acceptance that had been missing for too long. She straightened up, a small smile playing on her lips. "They're really blooming now," she said, gesturing towards the sunflowers. Ben whistled appreciatively. "They look amazing. Best sunflowers on the block, hands down." From the corner of her eye, Lily saw her mom leaning against the porch railing, arms crossed, a quiet smile gracing her face. It wasn't a huge, boisterous smile, but a small, knowing one, filled with a pride that resonated in Lily's chest. Sarah pushed herself off the railing and walked towards her daughter, stopping just behind her. She placed a hand on Lily's shoulder, a silent gesture of support. "They are beautiful, Mija," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Just like you." Lily leaned into her mother's touch, the familiar scent of her lavender soap a comforting presence. She knew her mom hadn't just been fighting for the sunflowers, she was fighting for Lily, for her right to express herself, for her right to simply be. The sunflowers were more than just flowers, they were a symbol of her resilience, a testament to the fact that even the smallest seed could blossom into something extraordinary, even in the face of adversity. She turned back to her sunflowers, feeling the sun warm her face, her heart swelling with newfound confidence.